Hello, everyone. It is Dr. Carol Laurie, and I am here with a dear friend and colleague, Dr. Phyllis, who
Hey.
welcome. And this is a very important conversation we're about to have because Dr. Phyllis, through her own health journey, has discovered this amazing protocol of why women, with all of our willpower, do not succeed in maintaining appropriate weight loss. And the struggle is so painful. So, welcome so much to this interview and my community. And would you just like to take it away and share your journey and talk about how you've discovered all of this amazing work?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I am a physician, triple board certified physician in obesity medicine, aesthetic medicine, and family medicine. And I was an overweight family medicine doctor. And we, as family medicine doctors, know that obesity is akin to the next smoking. It affects every single organ system. And I was there overweight. And so I felt like I was.
Overweight and unhappy and didn't feel well. It's not
Mhm.
just
Oh,
the
yeah.
weight, it's also how we feel,
How
right?
we feel. I felt like if I felt depressed. I didn't feel like the greatest wife or mom, and I wanted to hide. There were some of my friends that didn't know I got that big, because I was avoiding them, actively avoiding them. I've missed like some of the births of their kids. I mean, really, it can be that tragic. We miss huge chunks of our lives, and it wasn't until I just got to this point where I knew there had to be something. There had to be something that would give me the answers that I needed to finally lose weight and keep it off. And that's when I went to a seminar on genetics and different ways that genetics can be applied. I know you work in the field of breast cancer, so there's, oncology genetics that a lot of us are familiar with, but also oncology genetics in terms of looking at what are the foods that you could be eating that will not drive and spur on your cancer cells.
Inflammation and
Yes.
inflammation, which is the
hmm
foundation of all disease.
Exactly, literally. So that extends to weight loss resistance as well. I mean, inflammation does goes right into your abdomen, right? So you start gaining all this adipose tissue around your abdomen. So that's when I started applying the principles of genetics to myself and interpreting my own genetic report. And then that's what allowed me to come with my protocols, working with hundreds of women, going back and seeing how can I break up these women into different avatars. And that's how I created these 12 genetic avatars where I can say, oh, maybe, yep, right in there. Are
This is
you
the secret,
right there?
ladies,
That's the
right here.
secret. That's
That
the
is the
secret.
secret of this
Mhm.
book, to buy
Yeah,
the book and to find your avatar. And then Dr. Phyllis is going to share her whole approach. I don't want to
exactly.
give away the
Well,
hints.
that's what it is. Then, when we find out your avatar, are you a fatigue fighter? Are you a dopamine driven? All of these things are sometimes we just brush it off. Oh, I'm just tired. Oh, I'm a little stressed out. No, you might be a cortisol carrier. That might be the reason why you can't lose weight and keep it off. And then, based upon that, then we drive your eating, your exercise, and then your targeted supplementation. There's certain supplementation that you need because the soil that our food is grown in is not the same soil that we had 30, 40 years ago. And so
100%. I always
it
say that.
yeah. And so the food that we're eating is not real food sometimes. And they got rid of dye number 3. What happened to dye number 40, red dye
And
number
yellow,
yeah,
right?
and all of the dyes that are actively put into our food, not to mention the pesticides that are sprayed upon our food. So we really are in this position where we are not getting nutrients from food. We do try to supplement, but we don't know the right supplements to take, and that's where genetics comes in to tell us these are the right supplements that are going to help you actually truly rev up your metabolism in a real way, and get you losing weight once and for all.
And I think it's fascinating. I mean, when I read your book, it's very similar to how I work with women with breast cancer. It's like the title of breast cancer, similar to the title of obesity or the diagnosis of obesity. That's like a chapter heading. But when you
Mhm.
dive in deeper, as you have with your 12 avatars, and as I do, it's like, okay, you're overweight, but what is driving your overweight problem? What is driving
Right.
breast cancer? And then you've utilized genetics to really target in how women need to eat, how they need to exercise, why what they've done in the past hasn't worked. And I
Hmm.
think that provides one with a huge amount of freedom and lessens their shame of they've struggled so often for so many years and they still have this problem like, what have I done wrong?
Right, right. Yeah, that level of shame is so deep and so pervasive that there's something wrong with me or I'm broken, and you're not. You have all the answers inside of you. We just have to unlock them.
So why don't we don't have time to go into all 12
Hmm.
avatars, but why don't we pick one avatar, anyone that you want, and let's
Hmm.
talk about what are the genetics, what are the nutrigenetics components to that, and how does that then play out? And what genetic testing are you doing? What actual swab do you utilize to get all this fantastic information?
Yeah, so we do a cheek swab. We have our own in-house genetic test. So we would just mail that out directly to you, and you just do a cheek swab, you throw it in the mail, and it gets sent to our lab in Texas. And the DNA never leaves the country. It never gets sent to third-party testing. These are all questions to
That's
ask.
important. That's very
Yeah, these are
important.
important. A lot of companies are using testing. They're selling your DNA tests. So you really need to know what's happening. We can destroy the DNA as soon as we're done with it. So I like the fact as a company that we do have that control over the genetics, because we only just need it for the report. And once we have the report, then we can get rid of it and keep you safe. Privacy is really important. So um, that's the first step. And then one of the things that I see come up a lot is the genetic avatar for inflammatory overload, detox bound, and I also see quite a bit women with that are cortisol carriers.
Cortisol driven, yes. So
Hmm.
let's talk about inflammation because that is a driving factor of all disease, especially with breast cancer. So I was particularly interested in that. So let's
Hmm.
do a little bit of deep dive into the inflammation avatar, if you don't mind.
Definitely. So when we talk about the inflammation avatar, a lot of women don't realize that they also might be histamine intolerant. So I put that underneath inflammatory overload because that's driving inflammation in your body every day. And you might blow it off to be like, oh, I just have a runny nose, runny eyes. I'll just take an over-the-counter antihistamine medication. But really, what you should be doing is doing the things to lower the histamine in your body. You can take something like we have a product called Hist Assist that helps with the fact that your body is overproducing histamine, overreaction of your mast cells, overreaction for a small attack basically on your body, and this causes this widespread inflammatory chronic inflammatory response. And so for a lot of women it's alcohol, and I sometimes dread having to tell some women like you cannot drink alcohol because you
Well, if you
don't.
can, then you've got to be ready for the consequences.
Exactly. You're not going to feel good. Or take a DAO, which is, an enzyme that will help break down the histamine at the very least. But at least oh yeah, the next day I don't feel good. I have a headache. That's all that histamine built up. And just a little aside, please start listening to your body. When you just feel like, oh, I had a little headache, or my belly was hurting, or I got constipated, or I was having diarrhea, or I was having reflux, your body is telling you something about that food that you put in your body a couple hours ago. So really start to pay attention to that. But of course, your genetics will map out some of those specific foods for you. And so when we do a test to see that you are someone that I call inflammatory overload, then that's the culprit. Inflammation is truly the culprit. We need to do things like putting you on an anti-inflammatory diet. We need to take advantage of adaptogens that could also help to lower your inflammatory levels. And a lot of it has to do with supplementation. Turmeric is great for inflammation as well. And we have.
Ashwagandha.
Mhm. Yes, I
Ashwagandha.
love ashwagandha. If any, and for cortisol, ashwagandha is great at night as well. So taking these supplements, knowing which to take, how much to take, and being on a protocol that if there is overlap in terms of gut health, if there's gut health issues because of this inflammation, if your gut health lining is also inflamed, I call these women gut imbalanced, then we would provide you specific support for your gut as well. So it's that interplay to see you're likely more than one avatar, but which one you are is really going to determine your treatment plan.
So when you do the genetic test and they come back with these positive markers, the protocol then is to put women on certain foods
Mm-hmm.
that are specifically geared toward what the genetics say, as
Correct.
well as supplements. And what I thought was really wonderful is the type of exercise.
Yes.
Because so many nobody thinks about, well, I need to target my exercise for the type of person I am. They just
Mm-hmm.
go out there and do everything that everybody else is doing, which is one of the problems with supplements. I mean, when I do supplement reviews and concierge plans with my community, it's like you're not just putting the kitchen sink on your countertop. You're not going into Amazon and buying everything that everybody else tells you. You need to get supplements made to pharmaceutical quality standards that are targeting your specific problems. So I love
Exactly.
that you've created this line that does that for women.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's the really important part because not only that, but there's cross reactivity, there's the quality of the supplement that you're mentioning. And the fact of the matter is, it's really a spray and pray mentality. You're just hoping that you're covering the right bases, and that's really going to leave you feeling frustrated. You're going to get burnt out taking all of these supplements, and it's really just not sustainable. So knowing the ones that are going to give you what I call the best bang for your buck is really worth it in that sense.
So let's go back to the inflammatory avatar. So somebody comes back with very specific genetics, and yes, there's the histamine overlap. What kind of diet do those women, how do they need to change what they've been eating?
Ah, it's very, very good point. So, what's causing the inflammation is the first thing. And if it's histamine, then we take out histamine containing food. Some people don't realize that citrus is part of that as well. And then it's actually, what I like to focus on is that what we are adding. We're adding in a lot of anti-inflammatory foods. We're adding in the leafy greens. We're adding in berries. And that is something that when you add in one big leafy green salad for lunch and for dinner, it takes away a lot of space for that junk that you're eating all day long. Because some women come to me and they say, I don't really eat very much, but you maybe just grab something from the Starbucks line, and that wasn't very filling, it wasn't very nutritious, and it wasn't helping to get rid of your inflammation. So that's number one. And then other things that you can add, like I mentioned, is having things like some people will take turmeric, like it's in a tea, or they'll sprinkle it in their food. Apple cider vinegar is another one that's very helpful. You can take that in a elixir in the morning. So if you're mixing like some apple cider vinegar with some potassium chloride, and obviously a bit of water, you can have that in the morning as an electrolyte elixir, and that is something that can help with your inflammation as well.
Yeah, and it also helps with your digestion, the apple cider
Hmm.
vinegar.
Yeah.
What about certain proteins? I found that very interesting that you divided the proteins into different categories.
Yes. So that's important to realize that some proteins are going to give you issues in terms of inflammation, especially smoked meats. So, the woman that I was working with, and even from a cultural standpoint, um, like Africans, we have a lot of smoked meats in our diet. And so, if you're having a lot of smoked meats, that actually can cause inflammation.
They're horrible they're
Yeah, horrible.
inflammation drivers, and
Yeah,
they're processed with nitrates and nitrites that
yeah.
are carcinogenic. And then they have the heme activated, which feeds cancer cells when that's activated through smoking. So the whole thing about smoked meats is just they taste great and they're a cultural thing, but they're very inflammatory. So it's
Very.
like saved for special holiday occasions, and then you need to take all your quercetin afterwards or something.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, quercetin's a good one. I like, so these are all the supplements that you can be taking to lower your inflammation, but that's important to keep in mind. Similarly with fish, just keeping that in mind with some smoked fish as well. If you are eating meats, you want to make sure that you're not leaving them out they're not leftovers. So you're not keeping them for too long because that can also increase the level of
Right.
of histamine in the meats as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
And I think that if you're eating red meat, meaning beef, chicken, pork, lamb, it really needs to be farm to
It
table.
has to be. It has
When
to be at this point.
when they grow the cows to make the unorganic meat. They're feeding first of all, they treat them horribly. They
Yeah.
feed those animals GMO food. They give them hormones, estrogen,
Mm,
antibiotics to grow fat. And that fat is very carcinogenic and horribly inflammatory. So there's a huge difference between farm to table proteins and like the kind of meat that you would get from Costco or Safeway or whatever, right?
yeah, that's such a good point because I think people don't, they just maybe look at the price difference, but they're not taking into account the health, the cost of what it's going to cost you to not eat that food. So we have to stop looking at our health in such a reactive way and more preventative. You're eating this because it's going to improve your health down the line. It is going to save you money down the line because chronic health conditions are extremely expensive and time consuming.
One of the aspects of the book that I really felt was amazing is in within each chapter, within each of the avatars, you talked about the transformation that the women went through when they finally found somebody who understood their emotional and physiological metabolic needs about weight loss. And once they started on the program and fed itself, it fed itself towards them losing weight and getting their energy back and their self-esteem. The transformation that these women went through was just amazing. So I think that's so critical that you can take in our society, there are these medical problems,
Hmm.
and you take a drug and you don't have to change any of your lifestyle, and
Hmm.
then you never get well. But through Dr. Phyllis's program and also how I work, the metabolic disease or diagnosis or illness or imbalance is the process of through which you transform your life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so important. And I think sometimes we get caught up on like just the number on the scale, but the transformation is so important, not just for you, but the people that are blessed to be around you and for this world. I mean, the giftings that you have to bring to this world that you might not get to because you're not in your full health and your full capacity. So it really, that's part of my calling in Geeling 360 is to help women just get to that their best, highest future self. Um, so that they can live out their true callings.
100%. So, how can women find you?
So you can head to geneticweightloss.com. It will give you information to get this book at geneticweightlossbook.com. And thank you so much for showing the book and for showing your support for what we're doing. It's just all interconnected. I mean, the work that you're doing with women that is going to help prevent cancers, to help treat cancers. It is such a leading cause of death. And we all are concerned about how we're getting cancers at a younger and younger age. So it's
Right.
such a pleasure to connect with you and so that we can help just our society just be healthier. And I hope that you'll reach out to me, anyone that's listening that has questions about genetic weight loss, shoot us an email, set up your consultation, and we'll take it from there.
And you do work remotely with
I
women all over the
do.
US, as
Hmm.
do I. So thank you so much for taking time from your busy day
No
to be here.
problem.
And it's Carol Lori signing off for now, and there'll be more later. But please go to Dr. Phyllis's website, get the book. It's really the answer that you've been searching for in regarding to your health and weight loss in a very sustainable, positive, doable way, which is really what it's all about.
Ah,
Thank you so
awesome.
much.
Thanks
Bye.
for having me.
Bye for now. Just give me a second here.